This is my first live stream, and I am recording this on my phone, so there may be a little bit of feedback, and I apologize for that. I do have a microphone, I just don't know where it is. So hopefully I'll be able to find that in the next couple days because I like that microphone. So hopefully I'll be able to find that in the next couple days, and the audio content will be a little bit better. But I wanted to jump on today and do this live stream because I had something on my mind that I wanted to discuss. And so this is really kind of me just getting my feet wet, but also talking about something that I feel like is very important for us as black women to take account of. Now, I know most black women in America identify with the Christian faith. And before I get into that, I just want to preface this by saying that even though I am not a Christian, I do believe in the Bible and the God of the Bible and the one who the world calls Jesus. So I am a believer, but I do not identify with the Christian faith. And I think it's really important to make that distinction because in America, because there's so many Christians and this country has been painted as a Christian nation, most people assume that the Bible is Christianity and that Christianity is the Bible and that God is Christianity, right? They can't differentiate the two or the three rather. And so they just tie it all together that if you read the Bible, then you have to be a Christian, which is not true because the Bible, the books of the Bible were in existence before the religion of Christianity came about. And what's so dangerous about that is because when you tie the Bible to Christianity, then you fail to realize that the Bible was in existence in Africa before America was ever even thought of. Because what we call the Bible, which they have a few more books in their Bible in Africa than we do here, but they've had the Bible for over 1,000 years in Africa, in parts of Africa. So it's not, the Bible is not equivalent to Christianity, okay? And so the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I think that a lot of black women have this understanding too. And so they listen to some of the Christian rhetoric about, turning your cheeks and, forgiving your enemy and, things of that nature. And so they kind of tie into that when it comes to themselves, right? And it's so weird because with black women, they only seem to really do that with themselves. They seem to sacrifice themselves to people who do these horrible things to them. They kind of look the other way, especially if it's someone who looks like them, and especially and primarily if the person looks like them and is male. And so what had me thinking about this is that, and anyone who's been in this space, any black woman who's been in this space for any amount of time know that we have a very serious black femicide issue going on in this country right now. And I awoke this morning to an article talking about how another young, beautiful, talented black woman was taken off the face of the earth by an ex-boyfriend. She was leaving her job where she worked as a nurse, and from what I read, she was looking down at her phone when she was going out to her car. I think it was like 7 something in the morning. And so he came up to the car. He had put on a wig to disguise himself, came up to the car and pushed her into the car and kidnapped her at gunpoint, and then he took her somewhere and unalived her. Okay. Then from the reports, he negotiated turning himself in through his lawyer. He had went and gone and retained a lawyer while they were looking for him, trying to apprehend him. And so he negotiated his surrender through his attorney, right? And so the reason why I brought this up and I tied this to the Christian beliefs of many black women in this country is because of those black women who continue to see stories like this and refuse to speak up and refuse to push and refuse to fight and refuse to recognize the issue with our sisters, our daughters, our mothers, our aunties being hurt and harmed within the community because they really don't want to have to tie it back to who is doing primarily the majority of these sorts of things in the community. right? Because you always hear, oh, well, could have been my son. I got a daddy, I got a brother, I got an uncle, I got a son. And it's so ironic because it's like these same women also have daughters and mothers and aunties and sisters, and they also have female relatives, but when it comes to them being harmed, they never look at the other side of that and say, yeah, he did this, and you may not want to, contact the police or push for tougher crime laws or things like that because you got a brother and a father and a this and a that. But what about your daughters and your sisters and your mother and your aunties? Do you not have any love in your heart for them? And so when you're thinking along those lines and when you're trying to apply Christian concepts and Christian belief and Christian faith in these types of scenarios, you really want to be careful that you're not allowing yourself indirectly to be the right hand of the devil. Because you have all of this consideration and love and care for the person who is doing evil and wickedness, and the way you view it as if, okay, well, I love this person, but what about the person who's being harmed? Do you have no love and no care and concern, consideration for them? Many of these women are mothers. They're leaving behind young children who are going to grow up without their mother, and in many cases that may be the only parent that's a constant in their life, so they may have to go, to grandparents, they may have to go to foster care. You just never know. And so then what happens to those children when they grow up, and what kind of life are they going to live when they grow up, having, grown up in the system and not having the love of a parent, and, having to go through the trauma of no longer having their mother. And so in the Bible, it speaks about that God is not just going to judge the wicked, he's going to judge those who have joined themselves onto the wicked. So I'm making this video just as a cautionary tale to black women to be sure that when they're choosing a side, to be on and whose hand they're holding, to be careful that they're not allowing the devil to trick them into being on his side, thinking that they're on the side of the Most High. You can only coddle and cuddle with the devil for so long before you end up getting burnt. Okay? And so the Bible tells us that we're not wrestling against flesh and blood. That person is walking around doing all these horrible, terrible things. Yeah, that may be the shell of the person who you love, but that person has something inside of them that is not good. You have to have a certain kind of spirit to be just able to go and take someone's life in cold blood just because you're mad, or just because you're having a bad day, or just because you're feeling some kind of way, or whatever the excuse is, to just hunt down and unalive somebody and take them away from their children. You're not just impacting them, you're impacting their whole entire family. You're impacting their children for the rest of their lives. Like, what that person did is going to have a trickle effect throughout the generations. And you can't just brush that off just because slavery or Jim Crow or any other excuse you want to try to use. You can't just brush that off. And is it the same for the other races of people who do things that are evil and wicked towards us? Absolutely. It's the same thing for them. But allowing someone to run around terrorizing, doing harm, unaliving, SAing people within the community is not going to make those other people stop doing wicked, evil stuff to us. What do you gain by closing your eyes to the fact that there is a certain group within our community that's taking out both male and female within the community? Man, woman, girl, boy, dog, cat. There's one particular group who is taking out the majority of our people within the community. I know you love your sons and your brothers and your dads and your uncles and all the male relatives you have in your life. So I'm not expecting you to stop loving them. I'm expecting you to also love your female relatives. It's just like living in the Twilight Zone. I just don't understand it. I don't understand how you can have so much love for the men, for the male family members, that you're willing to sacrifice yourself and all of the rest of the women and the girls in your families. It's just mind-boggling to me. It's just weird. And so that's why I really think that this is spiritual and it's just a sign of the times. So I just wanted to put out that message. I just wanted to do this live stream because it was something that I was thinking about. It was something that was on my heart that I wanted to speak about today. So I'm going to go ahead and end this live stream, and hopefully I will see you soon on the next. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you next time. Thanks.